If you're a Jehovah's Witness, I have a question for you about Moses. But before I get to that question, I want to bring up a point of agreement that Christians and Jehovah's Witnesses have and a point of disagreement that we have. Now, Christians and Jehovah's Witnesses both believe that people die because of sin. When Adam and Eve sinned, sin and death entered the world, and therefore everybody dies. If Adam and Eve had not sinned, they would have continued living and would have never had to suffer death. Now, the point of disagreement that we have is what happens at the point of death. As a Christian, I believe that we have a soul, and that soul survives the death of the body. And I actually think that Jesus spoke about this when he said, "Don't fear those who can kill the body, but cannot kill the soul." But you as a Jehovah's Witness, you believe that a person is a living soul, and therefore when a person dies, his soul dies as well. Now you might be thinking to yourself, well, what does this have to do with Moses? And I want to bring you to the Gospel of Matthew chapter 17, to the Transfiguration. Now Moses had lived his life, Moses had sinned during his life, and Moses died due to that sin. But Matthew chapter 17 says this: "After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Just then, before them appeared Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus." Now think about this incident just for a moment from your theological framework. Moses had sinned against God, and because he sinned against God, he died. But here we have Moses resurrected, or better put, in your theological framework, we have him recreated, once again a living soul talking with Jesus. But when you as a Jehovah's Witness think about Moses in this present day, you think of him as annihilated, non-existent, waiting in the grave for resurrection to paradise earth. Now, by logical extension, that means that God killed Moses after this conversation. So my question to you as a Jehovah's Witness is, on what basis did Jehovah God kill Moses for a second time? There's absolutely no indication in the text that Moses sinned against God. So on what justification did God kill Moses? Is it possible that there is something, a soul, that survives the death of the body, like Jesus said, when he said, "Don't be afraid of those who can kill the body but cannot kill the soul"? Is it possible that there is something that survives death, and that's what facilitated this conversation between Jesus and Moses without having to contradict Scripture, where you have God killing a man who committed no sin? Something to think about.